Welcome to Real Life with Jenny. My name's Jenny Senaparatna. Grab your favorite drink, get yourself a snack, and we will get started. In fact, today you may need two snacks. Let's just be real. So I have strawberry lemonade, and then I have some fresh cherries. So really a great way to stay cool other than being in the air conditioning, which I love. Anyway, so let's get real. It is the time of the year that I am not a huge fan of. First of all, I'm not really a summer girl. Like, I really love the winter. I'm actually more active in the winter because it's cooler. I take a lot more walks then. Now I'm actually walking around Walmart to get my exercise. Like, it's kind of sad because I just don't like to be hot. It's not something I enjoy. And also, it is fundraising season for our ministry. So, we run a ministry called Christ Connection. My husband has been doing it for 20 years. I've been supporting it, but I've only been part of it like full time for 5. So, long story short, in February, well, maybe it's not going to be a long story short. Maybe it's going to just be a long story long. Here we go. February, we do fundraising, and we do it mostly for our overseas trips. So, we try to go overseas 1 to 2 times a year and spend time with missionaries, teach on prayer, prayer with insight, all those kind of really great things. It's super impactful, and it is one of my favorite things that we get to do. And so we do fundraising for that mostly in February because that's my husband's birthday. And it kind of started as like, give us $30 when he turns 30. And now things, have ramping up a little bit because that was a couple of years ago. Anyway, and in the summertime, we do a fundraiser mostly just to stay in the black. Like, it is just really for operations. So we do a lot of things for Christ Connection that maybe we don't make a lot of money on. How about that? So we have spoke at, I think, 42 or 43 services in 2025, and we're only in June. And so we really take it very seriously. We work really hard, but we don't necessarily go to places that can always pay for all the expenses. And that is our heart. Like, we want to be able to go to any church no matter the size. No matter how much money they have, that we will come and we will minister and we will make a difference. That is our heart. And so the summertime, we fundraise to really kind of stay in the black. And last year, we went to Sri Lanka for a month and we lost the month of income because we didn't speak any time that we got paid for in that month. We did speak when we were over in Sri Lanka, but we didn't get paid for it, which is fine. Like, that was not our intention. When we're overseas, we're not there to make money. Like, that's just not, we're there to support and be, it was just fabulous. Anyway, so in September, after our fundraiser last summer, we took a pay cut personally so that the ministry could keep going. And not that it could keep going, but that could go longer and that we would have money in the bank and that we could do projects if something came up, just like the whole thing, right? So I'm coming up to this summer with extreme hesitation. I have to be completely honest with you. Like, I am super nervous about it. I'm even nervous talking about it. We have always done it June, July, and August, and we haven't even started it yet because I'm just going, we're going to do it just for the month of August because both of us are a little hesitant. We feel a little like, what are we doing wrong? We're not the greatest fundraisers. That's not something we're super good at. Anyway, don't tune out. This is really not about fundraising, but all of a sudden I'm like, I'm talking a lot about that. That's really not what this is about. But I was talking with a missionary just recently, and they have to raise a certain amount of money too. And it's pretty close to our goal for the summer. And they were like, oh, that sounds like that's not possible. And they're like, what do you do? And so I'm kind of explaining things. And it really felt almost like, well, they didn't really want to kind of be involved because would it be a competition? And I just sat there going, at what point have I gotten to the place that I feel like God will only give to me or only give to them? Like, is that what has happened and where I've kind of gone to? Now, I realize that I've been listening to different reels. Now, I know that that's not a good plan. Let's just be completely honest. We all know that's not a good plan. But reels on Facebook, Instagram, and on TikTok. And there's this Christian comedian that is very funny, but, a little bit off a lot of times. Kind of makes fun of Christians, but then whatever. And so he has said, I'm not bringing that prayer request to the Lord. I am not bothering the God of the universe for your hangnail. And I realize that has really become a little bit a part of what I believe. That God needs me to have all my ducks in a row, that I need to ask the right person, I need to be in front of people enough, I need to have the right goals, I need to have the right things for people to get behind, because I'm starting a ministry to pastors' wives, which I'm super nervous about, but I'm really excited about. And it's going to take money. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to take money. And who do I ask and where do I go? And I've put it off for over a year because I'm nervous about it. And so yesterday I had the opportunity to stay home, and my daughter was gone in Arizona. My husband was in South Dakota. I watched his service for a little while. I watched my home church for a little while, and I watched a friend's church. And so I did church from the couch yesterday, which was kind of nice. But one thing that one of them was talking about was that we have underestimated God's power and miracles in our lives. And I just had to take a step back, because you know what? I do not look at the Bible and read in the Bible anywhere that God was like, you know what? I really don't have enough to be able to give to all of my disciples. I'm going to have to choose my favorite disciple that I'm going to bless them financially and not the rest of them. Like, I just don't have enough to give it to everyone. When he fed the 5,000, he wasn't like, well, everybody take as little as you need. Don't fill yourselves up, just take as little as you need to survive to get to the next place. No, it says that they were full and they had enough, and that they, it talks about how much food there was. It wasn't just a little bit just to get by. There was an expense for 5,000 plus their families. And I just think we have just kind of put God in a box. I know I have. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you are in a place that you're like, oh, God and I, like, I'm on the same wavelength as him. I am nowhere near that. Let's just be real. I just realize that I'm like, okay, if my missionary friend has to raise the money, maybe it's more important that they get the money than I do. And so maybe I just need to back off a little bit and not worry about it. And am I praying enough about this? Have I laid out my fleeces before the Lord? Like, do I have my ducks in a row? No. You know what? God will supply our needs according to his riches and glory. And I know that verse because I live that verse. And so I was feeling very discouraged. Kevin and I had been talking about, we're almost at 20 years for our ministry. We've been doing this a really long time. And we are not one of those prosperous evangelist type that, speak to 10,000 people at a time and their coffers are full and they are just overflowing with bounty and they have jets and they have cool shoes and, that's just not who we are, and nor has it been who God has called us to be. But it can be very discouraging. And so we were in the car doing errands together, which is one of the things I love about our ministry, is that we get to be together. And we're running around, and I had met with a pastor's wife that morning. We met with another pastor that afternoon, and you're hearing their stories, and you kind of have a little bit of maybe sadness creep in sometimes when you work with pastors. Pastors are amazing people, but their lives are hard, and they have to deal with really hard situations. And my heart just breaks for pastors and their wives. And sometimes what they walk through is so ugly and hard. And we just stand beside them and pray because I don't have the answers, right? And so I was just feeling really discouraged. I'll be honest with you. It was just, I'm telling Kevin, it would be a lot easier if like I was meeting with CEOs that lives were perfect, and it'd be a lot easier for me personally. And we got home that night, and we haven't started the fundraiser. We haven't told anybody about what we're raising money for. I feel like we're a little more like we talk about it, but we don't, it's not really it's not the first thing that I talk to people about. Anyway, so we get home that night, we get the mail, and Sam had a couple grad cards, which is super fun. And there was a check, and Kevin was like, there was an envelope with a church name, and I'm like, we didn't speak at that church this year. Like, we haven't been there in 2025. I think we were there in 2023, 24. I'm not sure. I mean, it's been a smidge since we've been to this church. Like, this is weird. And they sent us a check in the mail. And just, it was a nice little check. And it was like, I just really felt like God was like, you don't have to have your ducks in a row. I will supply your needs according to my riches and glory. I don't even know if I said that right now all of a sudden, because I'm like, what is happening? But there's some of you out there right now that are in the midst of, you need a miracle. And you haven't spoken that miracle out. You haven't maybe even talked about it with your spouse or with your friends or even with yourself maybe. But there is a miracle that is you are in need of. Whether it's a financial, a physical, a relational, like there are miracles in your life that you need to happen. And I just want you to know that, first of all, you can bring it to God. It doesn't matter whether it's a hangnail or not. Hangnails are annoying, and God wants to be part of the details of our lives. God does not want just the big stuff. He wants the little things too, because little things are really as important as those big issues. The little things, when you see God move, it is incredible. Okay, I'm gonna tell you one thing that happened. My daughter was at camp, and she struggles with camp. Camps are, she loves them. They're super fun, but they are draining to her, and she gets very overwhelmed. And so she made a bingo card, which you're like, oh my, she's gambling. No, she made a bingo card for fun. And put a bunch of things on there. Like, we're going to see someone get in a fight with the referee. We're going to see someone, jump in the lake for no apparent reason. We're going to, like, all these different things. And she was, in just waiting on the Lord one night and really kind of just feeling zapped. Just like, I'm just zapped. I really don't have much more. Like, I'm tired. And all of a sudden, a song started playing, and she started crying because it finished her bingo card. It was one of the songs she'd put on her bingo card, and it gave her a bingo. And she was like, God saw my bingo card, Mom. He saw my bingo card and knew that he just needed to remind me that he saw the small details in my life. And you guys, God sees the small details in your life. He can work the big miracles and the small miracles in your life. He does not care that everyone is asking at the same time, and that there are 75 missionaries out there right now trying to raise the same amount of money you are. He doesn't go, well, I like that missionary better than I like you. God will supply your needs according to his riches and glory. And that is a truth. That is not prosperity. That is not like, oh, we're all going to be rich, and if you follow God, you will be rich. That is not what I'm saying. But God will supply your needs, big and small. So don't give up on those miracles. Don't give up on the miracles that God will continue to do in your life if you continue to put your faith and trust in him. That is what I'm doing this summer. And I have to be honest with you, it's really hard. People have asked me if I start recording these, and if you could see me right now, you'd see tears streaming down my face. Because I believe that what we need in the ministry, God sees. And yeah, last year we didn't get what we needed. But you know what? Even after we sliced and took money out of our own personal account and made sure that the ministry, like, we have seen God stretch our money in ways that I never thought he was, like, I'm just shocked. Like, we have not gone without. The Lord has been so faithful with our money financially that money financially, that's the same thing, Jen. But like, it has been miracle after miracle. Like, even to the point that last year, when the egg prices were so high, I had girlfriends sending me eggs. And I'm like, because I was like, I didn't ask anyone for eggs. I didn't tell anybody I wasn't buying eggs. And God was like, I see you, Jenny, and I'm going to give you a dozen eggs from a girlfriend. Or it was just like miracle after miracle happened. And so maybe that big miracle that I was hoping for last summer didn't happen, but he has shown himself faithful all the way through this year. Up till now, we're doing it again. And I know that God has plans for the money that comes into Christ Connection. I know that He's knows what we need, and He will supply that. And He will do that in your life too, financially, relationally, spiritually. Maybe you're feeling very far away from Him right now. I just ask you to seek Him and say, I don't feel you right now. Because there are days that you're like, I don't feel you, I don't see you. This is really, I feel really alone. And I just pray that you will feel the miracle of God's presence in your life. And that really can make a difference. Even a song can make a difference because you know that God sees you. And maybe you'll finish out your bingo card. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I hope that you hear my heart. You hear that this was not about our fundraiser, but it was about God's mighty miracles in our lives. And that your girlfriend may need more money than you do, but maybe you need peace. Maybe you need God to step into your children's lives. Maybe there's a physical healing, and He doesn't go, well, I'm going to heal this person because they're better than the other one. That's not how things work. God is willing to do miracles for you too. Well, you can find me at Real Life with Jenny on Instagram and Facebook. You can also go to buymeacoffee.com/reallifewithjenny. That's actually in the show notes. If you want to support this, that'd be fabulous. All that money just goes straight to this podcast to keep it going. You can also find me at www.christconnection.cc. I don't think you have to say the www anymore, do you? Oh, I'm so old, but that's okay. You can find me at christconnection.cc. There's actually a contact page there if you'd like if you have a prayer request or you just want to connect. I'd love to hear from you. Let us keep going after God. Maybe not just for the miracles, but the miracles are part of who He is. As you look and read throughout the Bible, you see God showing up in ways that I'm guessing people never thought would happen. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were standing up for the Lord, I'm guessing they had no idea Jesus would show up in the fire with them. They thought they would just die and it would be over. They didn't know that there was a miracle waiting for them. I'm guessing they were hoping for one and praying for one. And God showed up. And God can show up in your life too. And God can show up in that situation, that financial, that relational, that work situation. He can show up with a mighty miracle. And that's what I'm praying for you, and I'm praying for myself, because I know God can work in my life too. You all have a great week.